computer. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Nothing Zilch Nada. We're your hosts, Xavier Dean.
Jacob Green.
And for today, we're going to take part in a segment we like to call Master Debaters. Yes, we went through the title of this before we started this. And it's funny that I'm the one saying this, considering I'm in my mom's basement.
I still really like the name. I
I
think
know
it's
it is a phenomenal name.
good.
So, and for today, in light of recent events where Jake and I grew up, where I'm still living and he's about an hour and a half away, our local movie theater has recently closed down. Now, I'm not saying it's because of this, because I don't think it is because of this.
Yeah, it did come out of the blue though, because I remember like opening Facebook one day and just seeing like the post about it. Um, did I forget? Did you find out about that before me, or did I did you know about it because I sent you the post about it?
I found out about it before you did, but that was because
Okay.
I went to the movies 4 times in a row the week before. I think either the week before or the week of.
Hmm.
And I my family has a really close person in the movie theater who's practically a sister to me.
Hmm.
So she let us know some of this ahead of time when she found out.
Yeah.
Yep. It also didn't help that those 4 days I was trying to purchase the new popcorn bucket and they're like, "Oh, we don't have it." I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
But
but it came out of the blue too, because like and it did just affect the one from our streeter, but like the people that own it also own two other movie theaters.
and all
Um,
three of them ended up closing.
yeah.
Yep. So, but in light of this, it got me thinking about what's the better way to watch a brand new movie, like new released movie. Is it better on a streaming service or is it better in the movie theaters? So, for this topic, Jake, you and I are going to be debating one side or
Hmm.
the other, movie theater
Hmm.
or streaming service. And because I am a great host, I will let you decide which side you're going to pick, and I will argue the other side.
Okay. Um, you know what? I'll go for movie theaters.
I'm not saying that because I am anti-movie theater. I will explain my true opinion at the end of the video, but
Hmm.
I was preparing in case you said movie theater.
Hmm.
That was my whole thing. So, all right,
Yeah.
you'll go movie theater, I'll go streaming service, and we'll just bounce off ideas, why you think the movie theater is better, why I think streaming service is better. And like I said,
Hmm.
by the end, because the streaming services is not my go-to for new releases, I will explain my side to yours. And if you want to explain your side to streaming services at the end, you can as well.
Yeah, I'm because I'm picking movie theaters. I mean, I prefer movie theaters over streaming services, but that doesn't mean I'm against, I'm completely against streaming services. And
Right.
for the record, when we're talking about streaming services, I think it's important we clarify this. We're strictly talking about um streaming services where you can watch movies on. So Netflix and Hulu, YouTube if that's your thing.
Well,
Um,
I would say not only that, I would also specify streaming services. Oh, what was I going to say? Because I want this argument to be about new releases. Because
yeah, okay, yeah,
Because
that's
I've
fair.
got a big movie list. I rely on streaming services to get through that movie list because
Mhm.
every streaming service has its own set of movies that have been released from the beginning of movie history to now.
Hmm.
So I don't just want it to be like, oh, movie theaters are better, streaming services are better. No, I want it to be which is better for a brand new release.
Okay. I get what you mean.
All right.
So, um,
All right. Ladies first. What's your argument?
okay, because you asked so kindly. Um, Before I establish my first point, in light of this discussion, because I didn't know exactly how we were going to handle this, I actually have an article pulled up from the History Channel, a very recent one, that was posted close to last year. I think it was like February 2025, about the history of the movie theater. I don't want to go over the whole article, um, but I want to highlight some key points in it that I think are useful. So when it comes to movie theaters, they started early on before the 20th century hit. Um, so let's see. The poll from what the article says, the very first venues for showing motion pictures in America weren't theaters, but amusement halls and penny arcades. In the late 19th century, the public often got its first taste of new technologies at coin operated parlors. In the 1890s, for example, Thomas Edison set up phonograph parlors where Americans paid a nickel to put on headsets and listen to some of the very first music recordings.
Hmm.
Um, Now, moving pictures were the next big breakthrough. The invention of the motion picture camera. It was patented by a French inventor, Louis Le Prince, in 1888, and the idea was developed further by the Lumiere brothers, Auguste and Louis in France, and Edison in America. Now, at first, uh, there weren't any projectors or screens to view these short films, and I find this part to be interesting. Um, it included 20-second loops of flexing strongman Eugene Sandow. Is it pronounced Sandow?
I believe so.
Yeah. Flexing strongman Eugene Sandow, a cockfight. It's not what you think it is. It's guns. It's guns. That's all it is. Um,
It's
or
kind of
Annie
gun.
Oakley or Annie Oakley shooting her rifle.
Hmm.
So instead, Edison and his assistant William Dickinson invented a coin operating viewing contraption called the kentoscope.
Hmm.
Um, I won't explain the logistics about how that worked. Um, so the very first kentoscope was parlor opened to the public in April of 1894 in a storefront at Broadway and 27th Street in New York City. Inside were five kinetoscopes lined up in a row, each loaded with a different short film. For 25 cents, a patron could view all five. Um, and then what led to like the very first actual movie theater um, was in 1895, Dixon left the Edison Company to help inventor Woodville Latham create his idoloscope projector. Then Dixon patented his own projector technology called the mutoscope, a lot of scopes. When profits from the kentoscope parlors began to wane, the Edison Company finally saw the light and brought the patent for a projector called the phantoscope, quickly naming it to the Edison Vitascope. Let's see. And those were kind of the verb of the movie theaters, uh, leading to what the movie theaters that we have today. Again, maybe I can send the article to you, Xavier. Maybe we could put it in the description below because
Yeah,
it's
we
a
can.
very interesting article to take a look at. But I
Mhm.
bring this up because I think with a lot of things pertaining to our history and specifically the history of like America today. I think my first reason for keeping movie theaters is for historical significance. And sure, it may not be the most valid reason out there. I understand that it could easily be refuted. Hence why I'm gonna state other points that pertain to the most worthwhile reasons to keep like movie theaters open.
Hmm.
But I don't think historical significance shouldn't be like casted to the wayside because like honestly it's kind of similar to like music or museums,
Hmm.
art museums where like we display all the art of past artists or the music, whether it's the present day music or music from the past. Um, and I feel like that's the same case for movies, especially since movie theaters now are re-releasing movies in theaters.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm trying to think because I think they just I heard recently, I think it was about a month ago, where they decided that um, for the anniversary of Star Wars this year, they want to re-release. Is it this year or next year? I can't remember.
What film were they planning on re-releasing?
A New Hope,
Ooh,
the original
that
cut of.
original. That might be next year.
Okay,
Because I'm,
yeah, next
hold on,
year.
let me
That makes.
check that because I'm pretty sure A New Hope was released in 1977.
I think that's right. I think that's right. Either way, I think it helps. For like a historical point of view, especially since a lot of movies, were made for that big screen in mind. Um, so I think my first reason is just like historical significance. Because I think it's part of the history of our country.
Okay. I'm trying to find a really good way to refute that. You were talking about history. I don't think I have a way to refute history pertaining to movie theaters. Yeah, but going through streaming services, I'm gonna go with, for my first argument, as comfortability, or specifically placement of, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what I'm saying is, in order to go to a movie theater, you would have to hop in your car or go to whatever or do whatever transport you do
Mm-hmm.
and physically go to a different place where you have to deal with their chairs, their seating arrangements. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
tickets nowadays, they don't have it where you just buy a ticket and sit wherever. You have to buy a specific ticket to sit wherever. You have to deal with that. You got to deal with everything around you. You've got to deal with how bright things are or how dim things are. And for
Mm-hmm.
some people, stuff like that might end up hurting you more than you would like. Meanwhile, if you're using a streaming service, you don't even have to leave the house. You can sit in the comfort of your couch, or if you have a streaming service on your laptop, like I do, you could do as little as sit on your bed and watch whatever you want to watch. You don't have to worry about, how the roads look. You don't have to worry about how far the movie theater is, especially now that our closest movie theater with where we're at is roughly half an hour just for a good theater.
Yeah. Are we talking about because I'm thinking of two that are pretty close by because I know there's one up north that's like 20 minutes away, and then there's one by the mall. You know which one I'm talking
I
about?
know which one you're
Like
talking about.
that one is like west north of where
Hmm.
we live at.
Yeah.
I don't know if that theater is still open, but I know I've gone there a couple times.
I'm talking more the one that's north. I don't know. I'm not a
Uh,
fan of the
okay.
Malls theater.
Yeah. I do want to easily refute your point though, for the
Yes.
sole reason that you mentioned um watching other movies when we're talking about newer releases.
Well, here's my thing. When I'm talking about other movies, I'm talking about like other new releases. because each
Mm-hmm.
streaming service has their selection of new releases,
Mm-hmm.
just like how a movie theater does.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're in the middle of watching one new release and you're not a big fan of it. You can hop off and go to a different new release without having any struggle with having to pay something else and losing any money. Or even
That
getting up and moving seats.
that this is the other thing too, and I'm only saying this because you know that I don't really use I'm not paying for any
Hmm.
subscription service pertaining to um watching movies or TV. The only one that I watch is YouTube,
Hmm.
and that's not a paid prescription. And for the past couple of years now, they've been making their movies free. Recently they've made a lot of the Batman movies free. So I
Hmm.
watched Mask of the Phantasm one night. Pretty pretty good. It's a good movie. Good movie. But uh, where was I going with this? Um, you're talking about not wasting money, and yet uh for a movie or a trip to the movie, like let's say since now our movie theater is closed, you have to drive like 20 minutes away.
Hmm.
That's not a far drive. It's not a far drive, and that's not costing that much in terms of gas money. Um, yes, you do have to pay for a ticket possibly ahead of time, but it is a one-time purchase. That is the thing. And there is the back trip too, but like again, with it only being like 40 hours for a complete whole trip, that's not a big waste of money. Um,
Okay, so I am.
but with the hang on,
Mhm.
with the subscription service though, um, you plan on like keeping that. Um, that's a monthly subscription,
Hmm.
and honestly, like say you only go to the movies once a year, that is not a huge amount of money compared to like a subscription service nowadays where you have to watch movies. And yes, again, there are free subscription services, but I think it's fair to say that a lot of people use either Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus to watch their movie content. And in a lot of cases, they own all three and other ones like Peacock or
Hmm.
whatever else they have. Um, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for all those like subscription services. Even I'm also aware of like the bundled deals too
Hmm.
because there's some joint ventures
Right.
there. Even then, still a lot of money. Um,
How
but
much do you think of streaming services, Jake?
I honestly I wish I looked this up beforehand because I
All right.
again I know it's monthly, but
Mhm.
you own it for a year, there's still a grand total to that, and that's most likely more than affording like one movie ticket.
All right, hold on. Because you mentioned one ticket per year, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go off of the ticket prices for where our or what our movie theater was.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, let's see, we'll go with an adult ticket. Our adult tickets were $9.50.
Mm-hmm.
Multiply that by 12. Wait, hold on. Give me a sec. This is gonna take a little while. 0, 5.
I did look up like the monthly subscription service. I'm not sure if it's completely accurate. The lowest is like 7.99 a month, but that's with ads. If you get the
Mhm.
standard one, that's 17.99 a month, and if you get premium, that's 24.99 a month. Um, for Netflix.
Right.
Uh, I'm not sure about the other ones. I can
Uh,
look those up real quick.
so that's the general price for all of them. It's 7.99 for with ads. I know right now, streaming service wise, I pay $15 a month. That covers HBO and then a bundle with Peacock and Apple TV. I'm great.
Yeah, Disney Plus, their lowest one is 11.99 a month for
Hmm.
like the ad supported one. 18.99 a month for a basic plan. Uh, oh wait, no. It's 11.99 for the ad supported basic plan, and then 18.99 for the ad free premium plan.
Hmm.
Um, and then one last one, I'll take a look at Hulu, just for the sake of it. Oh yeah, it's similar to Disney.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, with
and because it's probably a bundle,
hmm
I'm assuming those prices combine with each other to
yes.
have it be the same price.
Hmm. Well, they make
Okay.
it a little cheaper.
Yeah.
But so here's the other thing you got to think about when it comes to paying for these monthly subscriptions.
Hmm.
Yes, it is a monthly thing,
Hmm.
but if you go off of new releases, there is a new release every month. Or not every month, every week, just about.
Okay.
So you could, in theory, watch one, two, three, four, sometimes even five new releases going just off of the weeks for that same amount every month. Meanwhile,
Hmm.
every time you go to the theaters, you have to pay for that $9.50 every time.
Yeah, but how much of a time though? Because
Hmm?
when you when how much of a time span? Because it's like if we're talking about the average like moviegoer, you know, because it's not like you're going to the movies every day, and I don't. Sure, there are most likely people out there that go to the movies every month, but
Hmm.
that's a very I don't see that as very probable though. I again, maybe this is one of those things where we have to look further deeper into it, look at analytics, but that'd be hard because like when we're talking about there are movie theater brands like
Hmm.
AMC
Yes.
that could help us out, but then there's the local movie theaters because not every town has an AMC.
Right.
I wasn't aware AMC was a thing until I moved to Champaign, and
Hmm.
that was the very first time I went to an AMC theater
I'm
when we
pretty sure the
moved.
theater in the mall's an AMC.
I don't remember. I don't remember. It's been a while. But most of the movie theaters that I know I've gone to were local movie theaters, like
Hmm.
the one that was in our town, and then the one that's 20 minutes away is a local movie theater. Um, so there's that to consider too. Um, but the other thing too is just like because movies, when a movie first gets released in theaters, it's only there for a limited amount of time.
Yes.
But it's usually there for a good few weeks.
Hmm.
I think the most. What do you think is the general time span for a movie that's in theaters? Is it like close to a month?
I would say maybe 3 weeks would be just for an average movie. I
Okay, I think.
know, I know part of it's got to be based on popularity. Like you're
Mhm.
gonna show your popular film longer or your most popular films longer, but generally speaking, I would say 3 weeks is the general time.
So here's my thing is like, how much do you want to see a movie right away? That's the other thing
Mhm.
to consider. Because it's not like you necessarily need to release the movie on both um theaters and streaming platforms on the same day. Um and I know in some cases they are, and I know in other cases, streaming services uh, were the only place that you could get movies for a while because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mhm.
Uh, but in terms of like today, um, I say the thing is just like if you're able to like conveniently watch a movie from your own place, at any time, assuming you also have your subscription service on a TV and and your phone, because there are mobile apps to consider.
Mhm.
Um, but does that mean you want to see this movie right away? You
That's
know?
that's a fair point. But here's the other thing you gotta factor in. And I'm bringing this up more for me because I'm constantly busy. I
Mm-hmm.
work, I work from 7:30 in the morning to close to 4:30 at night. There have been times where I've had to bring my work home, and I do a bunch of other things that, takes time away from what I can do. And generally speaking, if I come home, I don't want to leave the house.
Yeah.
Let's say we have a new movie, like, and because I mentioned this might be an argument with Jake, or that we'll bring up here. Let's say the new Marvel movie comes out and I want to
Mm-hmm.
watch it, and I look at my schedule and I realize with how much I work, how much
Mm-hmm.
extra stuff I do, and the amount of time I have, I don't feel comfortable having or trying to go to the movie theater, or I won't have the time to go to the movie theater to watch the film, or I won't have the effort to want to go to the movie theater because I've already been out most of my day. I don't want to stop home and then go back out. And a lot of times, movies, when their showtime start, when I leave work, it is right at the end of that, like 4 to 4:30 showtime, and I have to wait until closer to 6:30, 7 o'clock at night just for the next showtime. Meanwhile, if that same Marvel movie is a new release on a streaming service, it
Mm-hmm.
won't matter what time I want to watch it, and it won't matter if I have to leave the house to watch it. I can stay
Mm-hmm.
at home after, after my movie, or not after my
Mm-hmm.
movie, after I work, and I could start playing. Let's say the showtimes for the Marvel movie are 4:30 and 7 o'clock. I could watch the movie at 5:30 without having to worry about trying to schedule anything or think about leaving the house.
That's a Yeah, that's a good point. That's a
Hmm.
good point to make. Um, I say the other thing to consider though is like I think this argument could go both ways for the next point I want to make. But like movie theaters aren't just a place for you to go at. Much like in the case of like restaurants or stores, you're also helping the workers out too. Except the other the and this is the two reasons why this could go both ways. One, you're also doing that with the subscription service too. Except the only thing with that is that you're not entirely sure how much it provides for like everybody in the company.
Hmm.
Um like how that money gets distributed. And I guess that's the same case when comes to movie theaters. But the thing about movie theaters is just like most of the people that work there are just like general workers. You know, they work at like the concession stands, they
Hmm.
work at cleaning the facilities, you know, keep an eye on the theater. They pretty much all, generally speaking, work the same job.
Hmm.
With subscription service companies, though, like they have a whole corporate body that they have. You know, there's a high chain of command, and there's a
Hmm.
tier of other like leaders and people that generally work for the company. And while that can be applied for other places of business like movie theaters,
Hmm.
um, there's still kind of a level playing field to it. I mean, of course, with every job that you work at, you know, you've got your owner, you've got your manager, you got your
Hmm.
assistant manager. I'm not sure if like assistant manager is usually a common thing. I know some places do and some places don't. It depends.
Hmm.
But generally, you want to have an assistant manager, much like how you have an executive producer and a producer, um, and a director. But but then you got everyone else who they might be designated in other types of leadership positions, like a key holder, someone that holds the keys and is able to get into certain places in the building, is able to
Hmm.
open the movie theater up or lock certain places in the buildings. Um, but generally speaking, they're still like on a level playing field. But with subscription services, you know, again, corporate body. There's a
Right.
whole infrastructure going on.
Hmm.
Um, so like when you go to a movie theater, you at least know who you're providing for, but then there's also the potential of like scams happening. That's the other thing. I feel like with this point, I'm contradicting myself.
You are. Well, here's the other thing.
Because this point could go both ways. There's
Here's the
not
other thing you got to
a
think
right or
about for
wrong
movies.
answer to this.
Hold on, Jake. Here's the other thing you got to think about, though, because streaming services, you know that money is going to, or directly to the company that is providing it, whether it's,
Mm-hmm.
Disney or trying to think of who all's not in that bubble right now, like Disney or Netflix, that company is going to be getting whatever money you spend. However, when it comes to ticket costs, all the money that comes from the tickets goes to the movies. They don't go to the people who work at the movie theater. You know where all the money that goes to them goes or comes from?
Concession stands?
The overpriced concession stands. Which brings me to my next point, which is going to circle
Okay.
back to an earlier point we mentioned involving cost. So,
Mm-hmm.
when you go to a movie theater, you don't just want to go to watch the movie, you want to have some concessions. And,
Sometimes.
for me, more often than not. And the ideal concession is or some popcorn, a drink, and a like a piece of candy or a box of candy. And let's say this is one of those places that doesn't have the popcorn buckets. So you have to go small, medium, and large. They're overpriced solely so that they can support the people there. So you can get a small popcorn for the same amount of money that you just spent on a movie ticket. And small popcorn's not going to feed you the entire time. It's like a small snack that you'll probably eat within 15 to 20 minutes of the movie. The box of candy is give or take $4 to $5.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got your small soda,
Mm-hmm.
which would be somewhere in the middle. So let's say
Yeah.
we go 5, $7, and $9, which would be $21 each trip for concessions. And that's
Mm-hmm.
if you get the small stuff. If you don't get the small stuff, it's going to be more. So now every day or every month when you go to the movie theater and spend $9.50, because that was our ticket price here, that just shot up to $30.50 for one person.
Wow. Wow.
Compared to, let's say you just pay for one streaming service,
Hmm.
And let's say you pay for it with ads.
Hmm.
That's 7.99. So 30, 50, 7.99. Or honestly, what was the most expensive streaming streaming price you found, Jake?
From what I was able to search, probably if again talking about movie TV subscription services in particular, probably Disney Plus and Hulu is the most expensive that I found, but there's probably something even more expensive
Well,
than
how
that.
much was it though?
It was if we're talking about the most expensive, it was probably 18.99 a
See?
month.
18.99 a month versus that 30.50 a month. And again, that's if you're going with the small stuff. If you're going with the bigger stuff, you're spending over $50 just on yourself.
Yeah. You
And if
know,
now if you happen to go with a bucket combo, and this is how bad it is because I know exactly how much the bucket combo costs. You're adding 17.50 instead of that $21, but that is still close to $29 per trip. You're still spending a lot of money. Wait, hold on. Somewhere the math didn't add up. 28. But regardless, you're still spending that much money every month.
mhm.
So going back to what's more expensive, if you're just getting a movie ticket, yeah, sure, the movie theater is the cheapest option. But if you're adding the concessions, streaming services is the least expensive of the two, especially considering you could eat whatever's at your house. You don't have to go with what's at the movie theater. And this is a good point for you, Jake, dietary restrictions, because a lot of movie theaters don't factor in general dietary restrictions.
Damn, you're using my own
I
weaknesses
know.
you man, I had a specific term. But I just wanted to mention this because you brought this up already. I was gonna mention it beforehand. I think the only reason you're bringing up this argument is that you're salty about the cost of the popcorn bucket and that you haven't been able to get it.
So the popcorn bucket itself is $25 and is $3.50 if you just want a general refill. I'm bringing that up because that is the basic equivalent of a large popcorn. So
Yeah.
generally speaking, you go to the movie theater 3 times, you pretty much just paid for the bucket.
You want to know something though? Popcorn is probably one of the best low carb snacks that you can have. I'm not exaggerating.
Low carb, but high sodium, depending on how much salt is thrown in. And I've seen a lot.
Yeah, you know what? You make a good
Mhm.
point, and
And with the popcorn butter, high in cholesterol.
yeah. Well, that depends on like how much you're taking in. If it's like, oh, you're just having this like once every few weeks or something, like it's not that big of a deal. And here's the thing for me, I make my own popcorn, and personally speaking, I will get movie theater popcorn, but only on the occasion.
Mm.
Um, but I generally like to make my own popcorn. For those that are curious, um, I put coconut oil instead of regular oil for a couple
That is
reasons.
actually what our local movie theater did as well.
Oh, I did
Yeah,
not know that. See,
that was. I know it's a sidetrack. I know it's adding on to your fire, but when I had a tour of the movie theater when I was first starting out, they mentioned that they made their popcorn out or using coconut oil, so it's a healthier alternative.
it's a healthier alternative. It also has a lower boiling temperature
Hmm.
because um, the problem with most movie theater popcorn or just popcorn in general is that when you use regular cooking oil, it tends to burn up very easily. Hence why you get the burnt kernel sometimes. And if you're not careful, well, good luck eating black charcoal. But
That is
uh,
what I'm going to miss the most of the movie theater here. It's not
yeah,
it's not necessarily going to watch the movies, but it's the popcorn. I would go with the bucket, eat all of that while I'm watching the movie and then get a refill so I can munch on it at home as well.
Yeah, but I use coconut oil because of the lower boiling temperature and because most of the kernels get popped and not a single burnt piece whatsoever. Then I put butter and salt on it. A little bit of salt, not too much salt. Um,
Hmm.
I agree with the point that you make about like the sodium levels when it comes to popcorn and even soda too, because soda has like diet soda especially. It may not have any sugar. It has aspartame,
Yes.
which gives it a sweet taste.
Well,
But but
good thing you
but
brought up good thing you brought up soda.
mhm.
And this is where us working in the fast food industry, we have a good sense of what's going on. So for those who
Yep.
don't know, sodas when you go to a movie theater, fast food restaurant, anything like that, we're not actually buying the soda itself. We're buying the syrup for the soda. It gets mixed to a machine with where it mixes with water and then CO2, I believe. Not CO2.
I think
I,
so.
I know where we used to work, there were these three cans. They had
Yeah.
what it was, but that's what makes it fizzy. So
Yes.
you're not necessarily buying the soda, you are buying a soda mixture, which is
Hmm.
why there are people who will make the argument that Sprite from McDonald's is better than Sprite from anywhere else. But it's still not the actual thing. There's a lot of other things going on. Meanwhile, you
Yeah.
get a bottle of soda, you get the general idea of what comes with the soda.
Yeah.
I know that's not really an argument. That's just
But usually when you buy bottled stuff, it's more expensive than buying like a cup of getting whatever you want. This is
it.
the other thing too. With a cup of soda, you're able to mix the sodas in and be a savage about it.
Yeah, I miss my Swedish fish
And
drink.
movie theaters do cater to that
They
because
do cater to it.
the soda dispensers from the movie theaters have like those different syrup options of like,
Hmm.
oh, you want cherry Coke? We'll put the cherry syrup in. You want vanilla Coke, the most underrated Coke out there? Put vanilla syrup in there.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Now there's an argument to be made that like you could easily do the same thing in your own house, where like you could actually, I when I used to drink sugar sodas before I had diabetes, which wasn't like terribly often,
Hmm.
whenever I go to a restaurant and I ask for cherry Coke, they don't actually have cherry Coke. Instead, what they do, what are the red cherries? What are those called?
Maraschino cherries,
Yes, they they put they take the juice from there and pour it
which is
into my
grenadine.
soda.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
use grenadine. A lot of,
yeah, and I actually like it better than the official cherry sodas.
hmm. Well, yeah, because
Um,
they're expertly mixing in how much to match flavor palette. Yep.
yeah, yeah, but
I
like,
but I will
you,
agree, it is easier to mix drinks when you're physically at a place rather than buying your own.
yeah, but again, like when you go to a movie theater to see a movie, you know, you're not just seeing a movie, you're
Mhm.
also getting the experience of
All
being in
right.
a movie theater.
Before we get to experience, I want to stick with the food and drinks for a little longer.
You just want to make fun of my diabetes. That's
I
what
am
brings
not.
it up
I am
top.
not. I want to I want you to think about the limited selection that a movie theater has.
That is
Because
a fair point.
if it's a
That's a fair
general
point.
movie theater, you're getting popcorn, you're getting candy, you're getting soda. You might be able to get a slush, but generally that's what you're getting. I know our movie theater had a couple extra snacks, like they had pretzels. They used to have a horchata machine, which was really good.
Yeah, but
But
here's the thing. I think popcorn is like it's a much better movie food. It's also the one that most people are going to get because it's
mm,
generally speaking, it's not that messy.
right,
And I know in some movie theaters you had the option of adding more butter to it or like putting all the different seasonings, but like that doesn't make that much of a mess
no,
when you're like actually eating it. Unless you, well, now
Hmm.
I'm just gonna contradict myself too because there's always the instance of someone spilling their popcorn on the floor and then the people at the movie theater have to sweep that up.
Hmm.
But it's a much better mess compared to like spilling your soda and then the sugared stuff gets like
Hmm.
stuck. Which both you and I know that is not the funnest thing to clean up.
No, no. But
Um,
anyway, there have been times where I would watch a new movie
yeah.
and I would sit here and be like, you know what would pair really well with this Martin Scorsese film? A nice medium well steak. I mean that more as a joke. But at the same time, that's my point. At a movie theater, you
Mm-hmm.
have a limited selection of the food you can eat, and they won't let you take in outside food due to health concerns, which, granted,
Mm-hmm.
it's it is a wonderful thing to think about. You don't want to be, you don't want to have your movie theater closed down because someone brought in peanuts and sat next to someone who's allergic to peanuts. But at
Yes.
but at
Yeah,
the same
that's what
time, but at the same time, the selection at the movie theaters doesn't account, again, dietary restrictions. It
mm-hmm.
doesn't really account for personal taste. I know there's a lot of people who are picky eaters, and not a lot of people will eat certain things from certain places.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't account for that. And
Yeah.
if you happen to go to a movie theater as your supper, there aren't too many movie theaters that have supper type foods. I know
Well,
where my
you
grandparents
but
live.
here's the
They've
thing.
got,
Here's the
hmm?
sorry, go ahead.
I know there's a movie theater where my grandparents live that actually has dinner that you can cater into you while you're watching the movie. But other than that, you don't really get that.
But here's the thing. Are you really going to a movie theater to have the most like eloquent dinner experience out there? Let's be honest. Like
Okay, I'm going to answer that
if we're
question
talking
later on. I'm going to answer that question later on because something else I want to bring up. It was a personal request from my father to bring it up, so
okay.
we'll get there.
Can
But
I make can I get make my point though
yes, yes, you
about that? So and I'm only saying this because I don't think dinners in movie theaters are the most like common thing out there, at least when it comes to your general local movie theater or even the branded ones like AMC. Um, but it's like, are you really going to a movie theater to be like, oh yes, I'm gonna get like the best steak in my movie theater with
yes.
mashed potatoes and a glass of wine?
Sounds
Like,
perfect.
like I don't know. I don't know. I don't think most people are going into it. And even then, like, would you expect the food to be better than your local fine dining restaurant?
Sometimes, sometimes.
Hmm.
I'm not going to throw out specific situations, but there have been times.
Well, I mean, I guess that is a fair point.
All right.
But even then, it's just like again, movie theaters are about the experience, but I don't think most people are going into a movie theater and be like, "Oh yeah, I want a juicy steak. I want a juicy steak when I watch this movie." Like, I don't know. I know there are people like that out there, but that seems to be a very low probability. And I
Perfect.
get it. I get the argument that like movie theaters can't cater to everybody. And one thing you haven't mentioned is like with movie theaters,
Mhm.
you're not allowed to bring in generally speaking, you're not allowed to bring in your like own food items.
Well, no, I did mention that.
Oh, okay. I guess
Yeah,
I
that was
missed
part
that.
of the whole health code. You don't want
Yeah.
get sued
Yeah, but
because
I think it's more than a health code thing though. I think it's also just a cost thing because you mentioned
mm,
about like how the staff of the movie theaters do not get their uh payment through the tickets,
They
but
get paid through concessions, which I do agree with that as well.
yeah. Um,
Oh, also, I'm just going to point out while we were talking, I was doing the math to figure out
mhm.
how much per year you'd be spending on a movie theater with concessions and a ticket
Yeah.
for the small stuff, $366 a year.
60.
Not
Okay.
including not including the gas that you're using driving to and from.
Hmm.
But that's something I'm not going to factor in because that's something
But
you'll have
but here's
anyway.
but here's the other thing too, because you talk about like with the streaming service of like, eating your own stuff,
Yes,
which generally speaking, you paid for that.
you did pay for that.
Well, and again, it rounds about to the argument that like that stuff is usually cheaper in the supermarkets than it is at a movie theater. But
Mhm.
again, with a movie theater, that makes sense a little
Yes.
bit why the prices are generally higher
Mhm.
because it's like again, it's usually a one-time experience. And like I don't know, I this is a very interesting case where I feel like there's no definitive right or wrong answer of like which is better.
Right. Well, see, the funny
Um,
thing is, we haven't gotten to experience, which was something you were going to bring up.
yeah.
Actually, you just kind of brought it up.
Hmm.
Well, but we haven't gone with that yet.
Okay.
Let's talk
So,
about experience first before we try to wrap it up.
okay. So when it comes to a movie theater experience,
Hmm.
I mean, the first point to bring up is the fact that like most movies, like since their inception, have been made for uh the display and viewing of how they are originally concepted. Um, or created. I guess that's a better term. Um, but um, but that was like a gradual process because what I was mentioning earlier about like the history of movie theaters and how the screens weren't really that big at first. That was a gradual process that happened over time, but they still had to account for that display size to begin with. But as the screens became bigger, well, we got to make bigger experiences in mind. That's
Hmm.
part of the reason as to why Star Wars became such a big hit in its when it was first released worldwide. Because like it wasn't just a big movie experience for America, but for other countries too. It was influential. But would you think that experience would hit as hard as it did in first viewing if you watched it on your TV screen or on your phone or on your computer screen?
That's fair.
Unless, of course, you have your own personal movie theater at your own house.
Yeah, but
But
those are
even still,
expensive.
yeah, yeah. Um, but but again, it's just like when you want to watch like a much grander experience, you most likely would want to first view it on a movie theater. And sure, like we're able to rewatch those films because of streaming services or on the few TV channels that still uh, have movies out there. Um,
Hmm.
but with the smaller viewing, you're a little bit more analytical when it comes to the movie
Hmm.
in that viewing rather than being wowed by an experience. Sometimes it can happen, but um, but generally speaking, like I remember when I first watched The Force Awakens, um, and like how I was just awestruck by like events from that movie. And when I rewatched it on TV, those moments didn't really hit as hard, you know. And again, it could be different, could be varied, but like I think most movies, how they're made, at least the big the big movies. because
Hmm.
there are movie projects being made by like independent companies that are usually made on a budget and are just made for those smaller screens in mind. And that's fine.
Hmm.
That's fine. I think they're perfect for that. Not to say that those aren't perfect for a big screen as well. Um, I mean, not every movie has to be this big, grandiose thing out there. I'm just saying, if you want to feel the impact of that big, grandiose experience,
Hmm.
I think a traditional movie theater is your best bet.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna factor in a couple things to this experience though. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you're going to a movie theater, you're
Mm-hmm.
not just sitting in a room by yourself. You're sitting in a
Mm-hmm.
room with a bunch of other people. And you would have a certain etiquette you would expect to follow.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I'm going against that etiquette because I like this etiquette. The fact that
Mm-hmm.
you need to be sitting in your spot, just watching the film.
I mean, it's no different from sitting down and watching a music concert.
No,
Although that depends on the venue because of course there are like rock concerts where like you're able to move around a bit and you're standing up and whatnot. But if we're
mhm,
talking like an orchestra or a musical, like
mhm,
it's a similar concept to those.
right. But here's the thing about those.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, you don't bring too many young children to stuff like that.
Yeah.
There are people who will bring young children to movie theaters.
Mm-hmm. We were
Sometimes,
young children at one point.
yeah. Well, this will include babies. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
you don't know anything about babies, they're not quiet.
I know a lot about babies. For
Hmm.
those that don't know, I have six nieces and nephews. I've been an uncle since I was 11.
Yeah. But regardless, babies can get loud. So let's say you're a mother, can't find a babysitter, and you want to go see a movie. You're taking that baby with you. Now that baby is everyone else's problem. Because while you're
Mhm.
trying to hear what is being said on screen, that baby is now crying because of the loud noises.
Mhm.
Or you have a bunch of little kids who aren't behaving. They're screaming or running around, they're crying, making messes. I know that was a big issue with some of the video game movies that came out in the past couple of years, where you would have stuff like
Yeah.
that going on because parents would go to the film like, oh, well, this is something that my kids like. I'm gonna go take them with.
Mhm.
But this etiquette, and part of it's because of COVID, this etiquette
Mhm.
hasn't really been passed on to them yet. So they don't know,
Yeah.
oh, I could just sit down. I can, they're like, no, I can
Mhm.
sit around. You'll also get the people who will talk during the movie
Mhm.
just because, oh, this is how it is. And I like watching movies where you get the occasional reaction, like in a suspenseful moment, you get a or a scream, or like in the case of again your new Marvel movies, when a character comes on that you weren't expecting, but you're kind of excited they're there. That
And then they scream, "Oh my!"
yeah, like I would be fine with those.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the last movies I saw in a movie theater, Song Sung Blue, granted, the youngest one by far in that movie theater. But there was a certain scene in the film, and I don't remember what happened, but as I'm sitting there, just one at a time, each person was like, oh, oh, oh,
Mhm.
thing. And I'm fine with that on occasion. I'd
Mhm.
rather not have that happen the entire time. I'd rather not
Yeah.
hear you talking or trying to tell the character on the screen, don't open that door. Yeah. And of course, you okay?
Yeah,
Jake,
I'm just trying to demonstrate your point of someone sleeping in the movie theater.
that's another thing. The sleepers. There are people who will go to the movie theater and fall asleep during the movie. So then they'll complain. Not everyone, but some people will complain that, oh, I didn't actually see the movie, I just fell asleep. And some of those people who fall asleep snore. I do not want to hear snoring while I'm watching a beautiful romance movie. Which I've got a bone to pick with romance movies, but that might be a topic for Valentine's Day.
Hmm.
But above all else, you want to know the one, like the most infuriating sound when it comes to movie theaters?
What? You know what? I just thought of something. So I was at church yesterday, and like, here's the thing: when I'm at church, I turn off my phone. And when
Mm-hmm.
I turn off the team, it means in terms of notification silence. I'm talking straight off turn off. Why? Not only is it disturbing for other people that are in the room, but like you're trying to have your time with God with
Right.
little to no distractions.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do the same thing whenever I go to a music concert, especially the ones with the big echoed halls or concert halls. Um,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm straight up doing my own gig in that same performance hall. If it's a casual gig, I'll have my phone on. But the least I will do is have my notification silenced. And even then, I've been using my phone a lot more to record my gigs, if
Mm-hmm.
anything. But yeah, I don't like that.
Right.
I don't like that one bit.
And for
And yeah,
me,
in your own home, uh you don't have that problem.
right. Well, and for me personally, like my phone's already on silent most of the time because of my watch. And I keep my
Hmm.
watch on silent because I don't need to hear ding, ding, ding every 30 minutes. But I
Yeah,
will still turn my phone off when I go to the theaters. Yeah.
I actually turn off the ringing off my phone. It bothers me that people don't know about that. That like you don't necessarily have to turn off your notifications. I mean, I would rather if you do. But
Well,
like
like I said, I
like
just
you
turn
could
my
turn
phone.
off but you could silence the ringer off your phone so that way you could just go which
Well,
like
even then, if you're watching a film like A Quiet Place, where it is a quiet film, that buzzing still gets annoying because you're hearing.
yeah.
I'm like, just want to watch my quiet movie in peace. But again, that's why I turn it off. And a lot of movie theaters, when you're showing the movie or when you're about to show the movie, will have, hey, movie's about to start. Turn your phone off, turn it, on silent, do whatever. There are
Mhm.
people who will blatantly ignore that.
Well, yeah, because they don't like to follow the rules.
Yeah. Again, you've got a certain etiquette when you're out, and nowadays that etiquette's seemingly thrown out the window.
I I do want to mention something about that real quick though, because the issue of etiquette, you mentioned that like COVID-19
Hmm.
is like a reason as to why. I agree with that. I don't think it's the only reason,
Well, no, it's not the.
especially when it comes today, because I think the issue when it comes to etiquette has to do with like how people are raised,
Hmm.
and that's been an issue even before COVID happened. You know,
Yes.
it depends on how people are raised. But yeah, I think your point like stands with that a little bit. It's just like
Hmm.
there's all sorts of like etiquette problems that comes to it. I feel like with all these different issues, like it just doesn't apply for movie like it doesn't just apply to movie theaters, but just all sorts of different environments too.
Oh, it definitely does. But because our argument's on movie theaters, we're going to stick to movie theaters. But so
Mm-hmm.
you get this issue when it comes to etiquette. Meanwhile, if you're watching from a streaming service at home, you make your etiquette.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you that opportunity where if you just want to sit in silence watching a movie, you can sit in
Mm-hmm.
silence watching a movie. If you had, or if you need your phone on because you're waiting for that important phone call, about that job offer, or you're wanting to be online and yeah, because that's Jake right now. Or if you're wanting to stay online because you have family that might need you at a moment's notice, you can leave your phone on. And again, going back to how busy I am, because I turn my phone off, I can't always do that if I'm at a movie because there are going to be those times where I'm going to be needed right away. So at if you're watching at home, you get that. You can eat whatever you want. You can, if you want to talk during the movie, you can talk because there isn't really a lot of people who are gonna bother you. In fact, you don't have to deal with people when you're watching from a streaming service. The only person you gotta deal with is yourself.
Mhm.
So, yep. Also, my big argument, the one I was talking about earlier about the steak,
Yeah,
and that my father wanted me to bring up,
yeah,
date night. So, movie theaters have been historically known for date nights. You take, whoever you're dating to the movie theater and you two
yeah.
watch a movie. This is a horrible date idea. I'm going to blatantly say this. Doing something like that is a horrible date idea. Partially because you're pretty much eating popcorn.
Yeah.
And
And you're
also,
not really conversing with the other person.
no, you're not. You're both sitting in a dark room watching a movie. There is nothing romantic about that. Even if you're going to watch a romantic movie,
Yeah.
and as someone who
I
had to watch a
actually
romantic
I
movie alone while he was dating, that's much worse. But there's that.
I
There's also the argument of what if there's a movie in the movie theater that I want to watch, but you don't want to watch?
Mhm. Well,
And
is it even a date night at that point?
exactly. Meanwhile, with a streaming service, your date nights, yeah, sure, you're watching a movie, but you can talk during that. You can eat that steak dinner. You can
Um,
Netflix and chill. You know, you do all those things.
yeah. But even then, would you be conversing the entire time when you're watching
Well,
a
you won't need
movie?
to, because,
Yeah.
okay, picture this, Jake.
Hmm.
You and your romantic partner
Hmm.
decide to have a date.
Hmm.
Go to your house or one of your houses, and you have, I'm gonna go with a generic romance movie.
Yeah.
Let's say Before Sunrise
Romeo and Juliet.
or Romeo and Juliet. You know what? Let's go with that one. You're watching Romeo and Juliet. You you're eating your steak. You
Hmm.
finish. You're both on the couch. Guess what? There's no divider right here that's gonna block you from just leaning and cuddling with them. One thing goes to another, and again, it goes from just a normal date night to Netflix and chill.
There is one option to bring up though, and that is you could just sit at the back of the movie theater and do the good old like
This is why I'm so glad we did video for this.
oh um
Okay.
but
On the one hand, you could.
can I mention something to support your point real quick?
Yeah.
Not that I want to stand for it, at least in this debate, but like I had this dating experience once before, only once. Um, and I don't think I've ever told you this story, Xavier, but like it was with the high school relationship that I had at that time, my senior
Mm.
year of high school, and we were gonna watch we were gonna watch Frozen 2. That's how I first viewed the movie. By the way, great movie. I actually
Oh,
like it better than the first Frozen movie.
yes,
Um,
definitely.
marginally a little bit better. But that date night was kind of awkward, and part of that was because there was some stuff going on in our relationship by that point. But it's like I tried to like simply like hold her hand and then she just kind of, swipe that away. It was kind of like an awkward time, but it's not like I was gonna be like one of those couples and we were gonna kiss in the movie theater or whatever because like I'm not like that. But you know, when you're in that stage when it comes to a relationship and there's tensions going on, I don't think a movie is going to entirely solve that either way. Because in that stage, you should be doing stuff where you're more talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that same issue still applies when you're seeing a music concert or a musical because you're not really conversing with that person. In fact, um,
Okay, so here's my thing about those though. Generally
mhm,
speaking, musicals and concerts will have
mhm.
intermissions or breaks.
That is true.
A
Not all
movie,
of them, but
not all of
but
them, not all of them. I'm not saying all of them, but generally speaking, like whenever I've gone to see a musical or whenever I've gone to see a concert, there's
mhm.
always that, time in between people.
Yeah.
Or there's the intermission where you've got, like everyone there needs that 10, 15, sometimes even 30 minutes to get ready for the next act. And that 30 minutes is the perfect amount of time for any sort of conversation you might have. It's a good time to get up and use the restroom. For some people, good time to sneak into the bathroom and,
Mhm.
you know,
I don't know if you're that quick about it.
well, it depends on who you are. But regardless, with the movie theater, you're in there the entire time. You're in there for the entire 2 hours. There's no conversation. If you're at home, you can pause the movie to have that conversation. There
Yeah.
might be there might be something that you're looking at like, this reminds me of this, and you pause it, and then you can have that conversation.
Hmm.
All right. Any other points for this? I've got one more, but I want to see from you first.
You know, we talked about we talked about cost, we talked about like the experience,
Hmm.
and we talked about like historical significance, which like to mention something briefly about that again, I don't think streaming services hold the same historical significance as a movie theater does.
No.
Part of this is because they're not as old
Hmm.
as a movie theater. But like the other thing too is just like not that there isn't like an interesting history behind them. I researched an article of like specifically of how Netflix got started out. It's very interesting. There was some stuff I did not know. I mean, I knew about Netflix when, it used to be rental DVDs and when they eventually like went full on with streaming. Um
Hmm.
but I didn't know it started as early as like 1997. That's like it's very interesting.
Yeah.
But I think that again the one thing about movie theaters though is just like I think the thing about them is just like the fact that like generally speaking like again you got people sometimes that would always want to go to like a movie theater like every week or every month.
Hmm.
But I think that's a pretty low probability, especially with today's world where costs are rising for a bunch of different things.
Hmm.
Um, I think if you just go to the movie theater, like, I don't know, like once every 3 months or once a year, you know, that's a pretty good experience to have. But like The thing about that is just like depending on the location of like your movie theater and like how well it's going, because you're not as attentive as like other people, could be the reason why movie theaters are like going downhill.
Hmm.
But that could be an issue that needs to be fixed with movie theaters themselves of like maybe they shouldn't be as plentiful and that because at the end of the day they're still buildings and those buildings still cost money
Hmm.
to keep themselves afloat. After all, local or franchise or otherwise, they're still a business. Um, and like I know for our movie theater people, they made the post about like of like people that potentially want to support the theater.
Hmm.
And as much as I would like to, I really can't.
Right.
Part of which is because I'm living in a different location right now. But the other
Hmm.
reason is I can't be as attentive with the movie theater as other people are.
Right.
Like I don't know, but I still think that experience should be there.
Hmm.
Maybe it has to be a thing where it's just like I don't know. Maybe it shouldn't be 7 days a week. Maybe it could just be opened on Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays, as an example. Because, like you mentioned before about like how people are working jobs where, generally speaking, because you're working as a job as a teacher where you're
Hmm.
teaching 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Um, well, not 7 days,
Oh,
5 days,
5 days. 5 days.
5 days a week.
But that
Well,
doesn't include any extra things that I do. Like during the fall, I will work on Saturdays as a
mm-hmm,
coach.
mm-hmm.
So, but regardless, I see
Yeah,
your point.
I I don't know. I think for movie theaters, maybe it just has to be a thing where like I'm not saying movie theaters are perfect, but like I'm saying that like they are an experience that you can't get out of the comfort of your own home. And while maybe streaming a movie from your house is better in terms of like convenience, you
Hmm.
know, if you're just looking for that one-time experience, it'd be good to go to a theater every once in a while and
Right.
get that experience, because it's similar to going to a music concert live or
Hmm.
going to a musical live. You know,
Right.
it's an experience that you can't get out of the comfort of your own home.
Hmm. And that is why, for me, I would prefer to watch a new release in the theaters rather than on a streaming service. Because I'm not going just to watch the movie. I'm going for the experience. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going, like, I remember when I was younger, back when streaming services didn't exist, if a movie came out, you would have to wait 3 to 4 months before you got another opportunity to watch it after it left the theaters, which is why,
Yeah,
movies kind of like were really big at that time.
yeah,
So that was my big, oh, I could see this before it goes to the or before it goes away for a little bit of time.
mm-hmm.
I want to go do that.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, for me, it's sentimental because almost every movie I have seen in my life at a theater has been with someone else. I will watch, you know, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this on here,
Mm-hmm.
but every year for my grandfather's birthday, who lives in the same town I do, he and I will go to the movie theater and watch the latest Marvel movie because the latest there'd be a Marvel movie coming out the same week as his birthday. So he and I would always go and watch that. You know, my sister and I, we will go and watch
Mm-hmm.
if there's a movie that we're both interested in, she and I will go watch it. My uncle, one of the weirdest things I will remember
Mm-hmm.
is when I was younger, my uncle and I went to the movie theater to watch Lincoln because, I thought it was pretty cool.
That's
But
a great movie. That's a great
it's
movie.
a really good movie. But regardless, I have all these different memories of these different people who I would go watch movies with. And Jake is included with this. Every year,
Yeah,
every year, as of right now, for the past couple of years, we would, meet up and watch the latest Marvel movie that releases in July. We did it
yeah.
for, was it Thor, Love and
Thor:
Thunder?
Love and Thunder,
We did it for Deadpool. We did it for the Fantastic
Across the Spider.
Four. And we did do it
Across
for
the
Across the
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah. What was 2022? Did we do something for
I
2022?
don't think we did any, I don't think we did anything before that. I think
I
it's
thought I thought we did. I
well,
really
hold on.
thought we did.
I thought 2022 was Thor Love and Thunder.
I thought 2021 was Thor: Love and Thunder.
No, Thor Love and Thunder was 2022. I don't think we did anything for 2021 because I think
Are
2020
you?
because the first Marvel movie to release in 2021 was Shang-Chi, and that was in September.
And I've not watched that.
Yeah.
Oh, you are right. It is 2022.
Yeah,
Okay.
so Thor was 2022, Spider-Verse was 2023, Deadpool was 2024, and Fantastic Four was 2025. And
I
by the looks
did
of it,
I did wa I did watch No Way Home with my brother
mhm.
2021.
And
That
by the
was
looks
like
of it,
during Christmas.
well, by the looks of it, this year is going to be the new Spider-Man movie. Unless we want to break the mold and go watch that new Supergirl movie. Because I think that looks pretty
I'd be down with that. I've not watched the newest Superman movie. I would like to.
great.
Um,
But regardless,
but
movie theaters hold a place in my heart because of the people I go and watch it with. It's to a point where I know where to sit based on who I'm watching with.
mhm,
Really annoying for me, but it's still something great. Which brings up my last point for streaming services.
mhm,
And I know I'm not the only one who feels this.
mhm,
I just don't know the people who feel this. And I'm gonna compare this to the coffee shop or a fancy restaurant.
mhm,
Generally speaking, when you're going to those places, you would want to go with someone.
mhm.
It doesn't matter who you're going with someone. Now, coffee shop's a little more hit or miss because there's multiple reasons to go to a coffee shop. But again, going to a restaurant, you don't want to be the person to like you don't want to be the person who's visibly at the restaurant alone in your spot eating by yourself. And
That's
for
why
me,
you go to the bar. That's what the bar is
I
for.
go to the bar. But that's how I feel with movie theaters. For me, like I know we're in a dark room. I know there's not a lot of people watching me. I don't want to be that person who will go to a movie theater alone because that for me makes me feel lonely. That
Mhm,
was like going back to when I was talking about watching a romance movie alone while I was in a relationship. That's part of the reason why that relationship ended up ending. Because I don't like watching movies alone if I have to go somewhere else because of that whole social stigma,
yeah.
and it makes me personally feel a lot worse because I just spent money on myself. Meanwhile, with a streaming service, I can watch four, five, six, seven movies. I was trying to do that without a straight or with a straight face. But regardless, I will watch multiple movies a week without having that same stigma feeling.
Mhm.
But regardless, I would still, if you ask me which was better, streaming services or movies for new releases, I'm still sticking with movie theaters. There's just
I
that,
think I think so too.
yeah.
I think so too.
And I get that they're more expensive, but you're not just paying to watch a movie. You're
Mhm,
paying for the experience. You're
mhm,
paying for that extra luxury. You're paying for
mhm.
sitting in a dark room,
Mhm.
with surround sound and a screen bigger than what you have at home. You're paying for all of those things. And sure, it
But
might
did,
be the
should
movie.
should
Oh,
I mention too that movie theaters have the 3D glasses for certain theaters
yeah,
for
certain theaters
certain.
have 3D glasses for certain movies.
Hmm.
You don't get that when you're watching on a streaming service.
And if you do, it's probably not going to be as good.
No, definitely not.
Um, I do want to mention something since we're getting towards the end of
Hmm.
like our discussion here. So I found this article. It's a global media journal. It's the evolution and impact of streaming services changing the media landscape. Um, this covers all sorts of streaming services. This was published in like 2024. But I want to mention like the movies in particular because of our discussion. Um, so on the impact on movie theaters too have felt the effects of the streaming boom, with streaming services offering an ever-expanding catalog of films. Some audiences now prefer watching movies at home rather than going to the theaters.
Hmm.
COVID-19 pandemic further accelerated this trend as many major studios began releasing films directly on streaming platforms rather than in theaters. Notable examples include Mulan on Disney Plus and Wonder Woman 1984 on HBO Max. Although movie theaters remain a vital part of the entertainment industry, streaming services have certainly altered the way movies are distributed and consumed. This also, I want to bring up another point too that I did mention earlier. I don't know if this is the same case anymore. I think in some cases it is. When Netflix first debuted,
Hmm.
that was pretty much the only streaming service that had all the movies for a while.
Hmm.
And when Hulu was first released, it was just focused on TV shows,
All right.
specifically debuting TV show episodes the day after they were released on TV.
Hmm.
But as TV channels were dying down and TV watchers were dying down, and streaming services become the main thing, and other companies are like, hey, we want to do our own streaming service. That's when Netflix didn't become this exclusive hub anymore. I mean, they still have some exclusive movies, but definitely not as many as there used to be. Um, but they don't carry like the Disney movies anymore, or like any of the stuff that's with especially with like Marvel and DC. And DC for a while, I don't know if this is still the case or not, but they had this streaming service app called DC Universe where
I
you
believe they
could
still have.
okay, because with that you're able to like watch like the DC movies, even play some DC games
Hmm.
too, and look up like exclusive content.
All right.
Um, the fact of the matter is that if there's a specific movie that you want to watch, and
Hmm.
if it's only just like let's just say it's just that one movie, maybe just five movies, like that's you're gonna have to
It's
go out of your way to find that specific streaming service if that's the only one that carries those five movies.
Yeah, either that
Any
or because a lot of streaming services will put their movies on rotation so that
Mhm.
a movie can go from one place to another to another.
Mhm.
You have to wait until the movie you're specifically looking for, as long as it's not a streaming service specific movie, you would have to wait until that movie makes it to the streaming service that you have.
Mhm.
Now, granted, if you want my personal opinion, go to Tubi. It is a free streaming service. Not sponsored, but it's a free
Or Pluto. Pluto is a thing.
or Pluto. I don't know. Pluto got on my nerves last time I was on it. But if you go to
Okay.
Tubi, they've got a really good selection of movies. They they will sometimes have the DC movies, sometimes they'll have the Marvel movies. They'll occasionally have Disney movies on there.
I also recommend YouTube too. They
Yeah,
still they
YouTube.
still you still have to rent movies, but a lot of the less popular movies are now available to watch for free. And like I said, the Batman movies, at least the animated ones, have been recently been available. Um, like Mask of the Phantasm,
Hmm.
Return of the Joker, um, Mystery of Batwoman, Sub Zero, um,
Right.
uh, Batman versus Dracula, the other
Hmm.
one.
Right.
But
Or if you're one of those people who is specifically going because you know it's a movie you like, go with the
mhm,
old reliable buying the movie.
yeah, and here's the thing, I think buying physical media is still important,
Hmm.
not just for movies, but also for TV shows and games too, because I think physical media is in a serious issue right now where like because everything is digital now, it's way easier to lose this stuff. Because I mentioned before of how like, everything used to be on Netflix.
Hmm.
It's hard to say whether those movies or even TV shows will still stay on Netflix, go to another streaming service, or they're just not there anymore,
Right.
which can happen. It,
Right.
it, it can happen. It does happen.
There's a
Um,
couple movies that I've been trying to watch for a couple of years now that are on my movie list that I can't find because they're not on streaming services and they haven't been for a while.
yeah, and like, um, it's good to find physical media of stuff when you can. And we were talking about Star Wars: A New Hope. You can legally watch the first cut of A New Hope.
Mhm.
Like whatever version of New Hope is out there today, it's been edited out with like CGI stuff. And we could talk more about this when we eventually talk about the movie itself, because I think it'd be good to talk about it at some point. But like generally speaking, it's just like re-releases of stuff are can generally be edited out, or like they have like added on scenes that were originally not in the film, which I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it could be fun, but if you're one of those people that prefer the theatrical versions of a film, it's hard to say whether those are available or not. Sometimes they are, sometimes they
Yeah, some streaming services will specifically say theatrical version, but
aren't. Mhm.
overall, it's hit or miss if you can get those.
Yeah, but I say in general, when it comes to this discussion, I think I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong answer to this.
No. I
Um,
feel like streaming services do really well, like specifically if you don't if you don't want to leave the house or if you have no idea what kind of movie you want to watch, they have a really good idea of picking what you've been interested in recently. They
mhm.
do really well with getting you the stuff with the comfort of your home. Movie theaters do really well with the experience of watching a new movie in an enjoyable way.
Yeah,
These kids aren't involved.
yeah. I remember I mentioned this when we mentioned it many times when we talked about our top 10 favorite movies, but like how we watched the Lego movie for the first time when it first released and how we watched it at an old movie theater. First of all, that's still one of the best movie theater experiences
Hmm.
that I've been to for a lot of those movies that I've watched. Because like the screen rooms were huge.
Hmm.
Well, some of them are like the medium screen ones, but like I don't see a lot of movie theaters with those big widescreen experiences anymore. And even then, that's probably only a thing for higher end movie theaters.
Hmm.
Um, but like it's hard to say whether we'll be able to get those experiences because I don't want those things to be completely gone. But I
No.
also understand that they're in danger of being entirely fizzled out, kind of like malls.
Yeah.
You ever hear anyone talk about a mall anymore?
Yeah. Well, malls might be a discussion for a different day.
Yeah, definitely. I'm only mentioning it because we mentioned the a mall already.
Yes.
But those, much like movie theaters, um, like, well, movie theaters, they're still around, but I could see them being in the same space as a mall where they're just gonna be like kind of fizzled out to the point where it's just like it's only like gonna be a few locations and it's probably not gonna be as generalized as it used to be.
Right.
Like malls were a popular thing for a while.
Hmm.
But I think most malls are either just like mostly empty buildings. They've got a few stuff that's open, or they're the Great Mall of America.
Yes, that is true.
But movie theaters, I can almost see being that, except unlike a mall, that building is most likely going to be entirely closed down, or it's just going to be converted into something else.
Yeah. Yep. I can see that too. Basically, what we're saying is while you still have one, take the time to go to your local movie theater and enjoy a movie. I
Mm-hmm.
know, you know, it may not be what you prefer,
Yeah.
but it's still great to support the people who make the films, the people who work in the movie theater,
Mm-hmm.
you know, especially for some of you parents, that 2 hours of silence in a dark room might be what you need.
Yeah. The other thing too is just uh what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. I know for my case I mostly had nothing but good experiences with the movie theater. I
Mhm.
think the only time I did not enjoy watching a movie in a theater was when I went to go see Call of the Wild, the movie adaptation of the Jack London book in my
Mhm.
local theater. And that was the last movie I saw before it closed down for a while because of the pandemic. Um, it was a bad movie. It was a
Mhm.
bad movie. But I did watch it with my parents, and that did make the experience pretty good. Um,
Mhm.
I will also say I did enjoy watching Endgame in theaters when it first came out, but unlike some of the other Marvel movies, this was the only movie experience I can recall in a theater where I was the only one watching it on my own. And sure, I was surrounded by people. There were a lot of
Right.
people that went to go see Endgame,
Mhm.
um, but it wasn't with people that I knew.
Mhm.
So I think that it would have been even more fun if I got to experience it with somebody else, you know?
Right. Mhm. And of course, for me, I like to have a conversation about movies after I watch them with people. So, but that's again for something else. But with that, I feel like we've pretty much wrapped up this debate. For
Mhm.
us, we would prefer going to the movies rather than just watching on a streaming service, at least for the new releases. But we also understand where the streaming service side comes in. So that's all for today. Next week will be Jake's topic, and I believe we've already discussed what the topic was. And I think it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I'll confirm it with you.
Yep. All right. But with that being said, I'm Xavier Dean.
And I'm Jacob Green.
We're wishing you a wonderful night. Again, stay warm out there. I know at the time of recording, we're either right in the middle or close to the end of this weird polar vortex in the Midwest. But, for everyone else, it's rough. Stay warm. And we'll see you next week with another video.